You're listening to localwebradio.fm. Community-minded, locally focused.
You're listening to This Week in Real Estate with Lance and Connie Marples from Sutton West Coast Realty. Here's your host.
Hello, this is your host, Nick Jaworski, and I am here with Lance Marples from Sutton West Coast Realty, and today we'll be talking with Lance about subject clauses and how they work when selling or purchasing a home. We will be discussing why subject clauses are important, the most common subject clauses on closing, and how long it usually takes to satisfy and remove subject clauses. Now, before Lance joins us, just a reminder that if you have questions or require assistance, you can reach Lance and his wife Connie by telephone at 604-538-8888 and on Facebook at facebook.com/marplesmarketing. Lance, it is great to be talking with you today.
Great to talk to you, Nick.
Now, let's start at the very, very beginning. What is a subject clause?
A subject clause is a statement in a contract that says this contract is not going to be firm and binding unless we achieve what's in this statement. The reason you really want to have a subject clause is it allows you to settle all the other pertinent points of a contract except for the few things that we're going to have subject clauses for. So you can agree on a price, you can agree on dates, you can agree on what's included in the contract, all the main areas of the contract, but there's always some things that haven't been determined yet. Property inspections, I've got to get financing, I may have to sell a home. All these things need to happen before I can commit to this contract, but I won't take the steps to do that until I know that I have an agreement on the rest of these terms.
Okay, so then what's the difference between a subject clause and, a condition or a term that would be within any contract?
A condition and term is something that has to happen and is going to happen. In other words, the seller will repair the broken window prior to closing. That's a condition. The seller will provide documentation to verify that any renovations done have been done properly and meet all the standards. Those are conditions. So they just state this is going to happen for this contract.
Okay.
And the party that is being assigned that task has to do that or is in breach of the contract.
Okay.
A subject clause is, yes, we agree on all this stuff, but I have to go to the bank and get financing in place, and I can't commit until that. But it allows me to take this contract to the bank and say all these other conditions are all spelled out. The bank needs the contract in place so that they can actually move forward to create a financing and a mortgage for the property. So they need all the details of the contract to do that. So you can't have one without the other. So what you have to do is put in, if I could, would yous. So you put in those kind of things. Inspections, another sort of big one. And you want to have these conditions in place so that you have all the other stuff settled, and all you have to do is satisfy these few things, and the contract that would then become firm and binding.
All right, so why are subject clauses so important? It sounds like within financing it's a big deal. Where are they most important?
Financing's obviously the main one with housing. There's not a lot of people, although I do have some clients that do it, but most people don't write personal checks for buying of homes. So you need to have that, inspections, all these kind of things, but it costs money to have an inspection, $300 to $500 or even $600 depending on the size of the house. But you don't want to put that money out till you've settled all those other terms. So you want to have these in. Can I get insurance? Does my lawyer need to look at this contract for me to be comfortable agreeing to it? There's umpteen number of things. There's virtually an unlimited number of different types of things that could be tied up under a subject clause. There are a few typical ones.
All right, we've got to stop for a quick break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Lance Marples from Sutton West Coast Realty, and when we return, we'll be discussing subject clauses when selling or purchasing a home. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
More This Week in Real Estate after this.
Are you struggling with a dental or oral health issue? Dr. Norm Ickert from Ickert Dental Implant Center is committed to improving your quality of life with the very best in modern and advanced dentistry. You can catch Dr. Ickert on the Health Channel for the Healthy Smiles Oral Health Show here on localwebradio.fm and at the Ickert Dental Implant Center in Langley at 866-981-1381. That's 866-981-1381.
Take control of your financial future with Sound Investing with Byron Stryloff, Senior Investment Advisor and Chartered Financial Planner with over 30 years of experience on the Business Channel on localwebradio.fm.
Shopping for the lowest mortgage rate? Looking to refinance? Catch the Mortgage Newscast with Jared Dreyer on the Business Channel on localwebradio.fm. It's time now for more This Week in Real Estate.
All right, we're back, and I am here with Lance Marples, and we're discussing the most common subject clauses and the time it takes to satisfy and remove them. So, Lance, what are the most common subject clauses?
Well, there's a few main ones that you'll see on just about every contract. As we've talked about financing, just about on every contract, there's a financing clause. Now, even if I have a current mortgage with my home and I'm just going to be transferring it, I'm not increasing the equity, I'm still going to have a clause in there for that because you just want to make sure that the bank has the ability to transfer that mortgage. We've run into cases where the home may have been a former grow-op, which is very popular in BC, and banks now, a lot of the banks won't do financing on them. So you want to make sure that you've got those kind of things covered off. There's other little idiosyncrasies that banks make you jump through a bunch of hoops for, and you really want to make sure that everything's done and you get a written letter of funding confirmation from the bank before you remove that financing subject. The bank manager or the loan officer telling you, yeah, it's good, is not good enough. You want it in writing.
Okay.
The other things that you want to look at, or you're going to see very common, home inspection. And, again, you should never be buying a home really without doing a home inspection. Common in strata purchases, a lot of people just say, I'll read the minutes of the strata and see what's going on with the building and I won't bother. Even on strata, you should have an inspector come in just to check. There may be stuff in there that nobody's seen, nobody's noticed.
Right.
And you want to have it checked by a professional, get professional opinion, and then they'll go through every little thing and they try to provide a very detailed list of all the systems of your house, roof, exterior, appliances, flooring, everything that you're not even going to think about and stuff you won't notice for months, but down the road could be a huge issue. And one of the big things is basements. Just going through a little stuff with myself right now, just found water in our crawl space. Well, we're probably talking a $5,000 to $7,000 fix by the time this is done. So, an inspection is going to find those kind of things.
Right. I mean, the investment in an inspection could save you thousands of dollars in the long run.
Absolutely. And in the U.S., it's very common that there's a inspection done, and then basically the whole negotiations are opened back up, and we start again about who's going to pay for what. Not that common here. Unless we find something, and typically that clause will read that there is to be no repairs required in excess of, and I usually put a number in there about $1,500 to $2,500 because as just like buying a car, buying a home, you're always going to find some little things that need to be fixed, and you may want to customize and personalize some things. But, you're looking for major structural stuff. Is the roof sound? Is the, roof trusses sound? Is there dry rot anywhere? Is there mold? Huge issue mold is.
Yeah.
If there's been moisture in the house and mold, we can talk tens of thousands of dollars in damage to a house from mold, which is why banks won't finance grow-ups because they're prevalent, and that is the creation of mold.
Okay, so how is a subject clause satisfied in a contract, and how long does that process usually take?
Well, that process typically is 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay.
For financing now, it used to be, they could do it in 48 hours. It'd still take a few days if they want to do an appraisal, which they don't always do. But the banks are getting tighter. They're making it more difficult and more documentation required. And we're seeing up to 2 weeks now to get written funding approvals. So that's not uncommon to see that. For inspection, usually within that 2 weeks, I can get an inspector in there and get that done. One of the things that can go longer, though, is, subject to the sale of a buyer's home.
Right.
They can't commit till they sell here. Well, they don't know how long that's going to be, and they might put a month, they might put 6 weeks, depending on the market and the situation. When the market is a seller's market, typically people won't even accept a subject to the sale of offer. You either commit or you don't. But in this market right where we are right now, we're at about a 13-14% listing to sales ratio. We are seeing them. People are putting them in. And, I like to do them no more than about 30 days. If at the end of 30 days, both sides are still happy with the arrangement, you can always extend it out again after that. But I don't like real long ones. Part of that is, though, there would be a clause in there that if the buyer receives another acceptable offer,
right,
the first buyer would have 72 hours, 24 hours, however it's stated, to either remove that subject, making this a firm and binding contract, or they are pushed out and the new buyer now comes in and takes over.
Interesting. Okay, so do you have any final thoughts on this topic, subject clauses, financing, all of these issues?
This is something that you really need to hire a professional for. You really want somebody who understands not only how to write them, which is a challenge for some, but really how to understand them. And this is where it really is important in reading the details of the contract and understanding what they say. These things can drag on for months. If you've got development contracts, or I deal with a lot of builders who put a 30-day feasibility study in there. And you need to understand what that means is they need to check out that they can knock the house down and can build what they want to build there. So you want somebody who can explain all that stuff to you. It's really important to understand the terms and conditions and the subject clauses in a contract and to understand exactly where you're going and to make sure that your expectations aren't being overlooked and that you're going to get what you're looking to get here.
All right. Well, Lance, this was a great topic, and we are out of time. And for the listeners, if you can think of someone who might benefit from what we have talked about here today, go ahead and forward this podcast to them. I am sure that they will thank you for it. And you can reach Lance and Connie Marples by telephone at 604-538-8888 and online at surreywhiterockhomes.com. Lance, thanks so much.
Thanks very much, Nick.
You've been listening to This Week in Real Estate with Lance and Connie Marples from Sutton West Coast Realty. This high-energy team brings their extensive real estate experience and keen eye for local market conditions to every transaction, ensuring their clients achieve their real estate goals, whether buying or selling. Call Lance and Connie Marples today at 604-538-8888. That's 604-538-8888. And visit them online at www.surreywhiterockhomes.com.
Local stories, local voices. We're localwebradio.fm.